The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Monday, the 9th day of June, 2025. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. I'm Jamel Hartman, and Maya Palacio will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in the news break brought to you by People's. How's everyone feeling this Monday morning? It is another Monday in June, one day closer to the official start of summer. Everyone feeling warmed up. I saw social media, based on social media this weekend, it looks like a lot of people were out and about having fun, enjoying some good cricket up at the National Sports Center, Northfield. So hopefully everybody had a good weekend. Everyone's back with us and healthy and happy and ready to start another traditional work week with us. But how's everyone feeling? How was your weekend? Let us know how your weekend was. Did you do anything exciting? Anything worth talking about? I did. I had a fun weekend. I'll let you know. I went to on Saturday, I went to the Temptations Broadway play thing called Ain't Too Proud. So that was pretty cool. And then went to like a cigar party. I'm telling you all my business. But yeah, but that said, I usually get outside when the weather gets better and warmer. But I don't know, folks. Outside's pretty expensive. So I'm reconsidering this outside thing for the rest of the summer. But hopefully you all got outside and had yourselves a great weekend as well. Kenton Trot says, "Good morning, TDH family. The blue looks good on you, Jamel." Yeah, man. Look, it's that time. Look, I'll be bringing out red about 3 times in the summer. Eastern County, Baylor's Bay. But outside of that, you know the rules, folks. You know the rules. There are certain colors we don't wear certain times of the year. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you for recognizing, Brother Kenton. All right, greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome Bermuda's only living national hero, Sir John Swan, onto the show. We're discussing how we can, his legacy, how we can still recognize heroes within our community and more. The daily play is Bermuda Trivia today. All right, so something you should know about Bermuda. And don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, a lot has happened, folks. A lot has happened since we last got together. And if you don't know what I mean, well, last week, there was a high-profile resignation. The CEO of the Bermuda Tourism Authority, Tracy Berkeley, had resigned from her position at the Bermuda Tourism Authority. So that follows the week prior where the BTA announced that Tashay Thompson, who was a VP over at the Bermuda Tourism Authority, was no longer with the organization, and coupled with another resignation of Jakai Franks. We also had some disturbing news. I'm not sure if you all saw, but there was a cruise ship passenger that shared something rather disturbing on I think it was one of the cruise lines Facebook pages, and it made the rounds to Bermudians this weekend about a tour guide doing some stuff that didn't make Bermuda look well, didn't make him look good, Bermuda look good, and was pretty much a stain. And we'll be discussing some things around that as well. But we're going to start it on a high, man. And I was not present, but some members of our team were present. Some of them worked the event. And also some of you in the TDH community were out and about. And I just want to give big props to the organizers of the Bermuda Smash Invitational, because the people seem to love it. I mean, I've seen comments saying that this event, whoever's idea it was, like, thank you, it was awesome. And this is the second year, if I'm not mistaken. Look, we remember when Hazel Clark was with the Bermuda Tourism Authority, we had a lot of engagement around the track and field event that they had. We have the golf. We've had the America's Cup sailing among the Sail GP and other things. The question of the morning for all of us, very simple. I was once told that sports tourism doesn't make sense for Bermuda because we don't have the facilities. Bermuda Smash Invitational, honestly, they've proven that theory wrong. The track and field event, that kind of proved that theory wrong. The Sail GP kind of proved that theory wrong, right? The marathon weekend that we have every January for years upon years proves that theory wrong. So the question of the morning for the audience, first off, did anyone, yes or no, did you experience the Bermuda Smash Invitational this weekend? Yes or no, did any of you experience the Bermuda Smash Invitational? Did you experience the Bermuda Smash Invitational this weekend? Yes or no? And also, what were your thoughts on it? What were your thoughts? Did you experience the Bermuda Smash Invitational? And what were your thoughts? What were your thoughts on the event? Kenton Trott says, yes, of course Kenton did. Man of the community. Marquita Lee says, yes, loved it. And I just want to give a shout out to everyone tuned in to Hot 1075, by the way. You also had a big event this weekend. Live music. Big up to Glenn Blakeney, who continues to bring these kind of events that we need in our community, allowing Bermudian artists to perform in front of fellow Bermudians. So big shout out to you. And also, if you're tuned into Hot 1075, don't forget you can make a video, let everyone know who you're tuned in, why you're tuned in. But also, again, question, did you experience Bermuda Smash Invitational? Did you experience Bermuda Smash Invitational? Kathy Rogers says, yes, excellent, very well organized. Traveling Charlie says, I went for the first time on Thursday. It was a lovely afternoon. Okay, perfect. I love to hear that. So now most of you have experienced the America's Cup. You've experienced the track event, the track and field event that the BTA used to put on through Hazel Clark. And you've got the Bermuda Smash Invitational. You've been to the golf events and the like. Now, the question of the morning, what kind of sporting event would you like to see Bermuda host? What kind of, and also, this is a yes or no question. Should Bermuda focus on sports tourism? Do you believe Bermuda should focus on sports tourism? That's a yes or no. Should Bermuda focus on sports tourism? Yes or no? What are your thoughts on that? Should Bermuda focus on sports tourism? Yes or no? I mean, you all know what I'm gonna say. You know what I'm gonna say. I think it only makes sense. I think why not? Right? Sherry Vanderpool says netball. Okay. She also says, yes, we should focus on sports tourism. Sean Smith says, yes. Kathy Rogers says, yes, why not? Kenton Trott says, yes, yes, yes. Marquita Lee says, yes. Manuela John says, yes. What else, audience? Do you believe Bermuda should focus on sports tourism? But also, what kind of sporting event would you like to see Bermuda host? Sherry Vanderpool said netball. Why not? Why not? Karen Simmons says, yes, we should. And a tennis and gymnastics jump rope competitions. Okay. All right. What else? How about powerboat? Like along North Shore? Powerboat racing. Is that something? I mean, again, one thing that was brilliant about the America's Cup, regardless of how we feel about it, mind you, I wasn't a fan of it then. I'm not a fan of it now, even though you will disagree with me. I just still have problems with it. But that's just me. That's just me. I'm not telling you how to feel. But that's not to say they didn't do a lot of things right. I think the America's Cup, for what it was worth, did a lot of good things for Bermuda. This is it. Yeah, Sean Smith, offshore boat racing, fishing. The fishing thing, see, I don't want to get into the environmentalist thing, but are they putting the fish back or are they keeping them, Sean? Like they catching them, weighing them, and then throwing them back? Because, I saw something the other day about, replenishing fish and so on. So I ain't trying to get beat up by nobody this morning. But what else, audience? What kind of sporting event would you like to see Bermuda host? What kind of sporting event would you like to see Bermuda host? I always said that, we have so many Bermudians who've attended college and university overseas. Many are now in these football academies and, on scholarships. I mean, utilize those relationships, right? Maybe have preseason tournaments in Bermuda from the schools. I mean, school teams seem to, like the school fans seem to travel with the teams. I know Bahamas has a NCAA preseason basketball tournament there. I mean, I remember before they even had that, I was thinking, why can't Bermuda do that? We don't have the facilities, if we're honest. We don't have indoor facilities where we can host basketball. I think that was held at the Atlantis, if I'm not mistaken. But what else, audience? What kind of sporting events would you like to see in Bermuda? Again, this is on the back of the success of the Bermuda Smash Invitational, which took place this past weekend, which so many people attended and seemed to have a great time. They had many guest players. And I'm not saying that the event attracted tourists, but it can be a marketing tool for the future to attract people. As if you're bringing international stars, those people should be able to attract others, right? So that's the idea behind it. Like, how can it attract economic investment in Bermuda? Like, how can we get outside monies in Bermuda through sporting events? That's how we have to think about this. So what are your thoughts on that? What can we possibly think of as a sporting event that we can? I mean, I was thinking maybe UFC boxing outdoors, right? I mean, if you look at what's that WrestleMania has been held outside for quite a few years now. I remember the first time it was they had just built MetLife Stadium in New York. And I was like, outdoors in April in New York. And it worked out. The weather was perfect for them, right? But you've got UFC and boxing. What's the keep yard up in Dockyard? Put a ring there and build some stands around it, right? What else? What are some other sporting events? What do we have facilities for? Things that can attract a big audience. Anybody? What do you have? Karen Simmons says, bring back the fishing competition, catch and release. Don't they still have it like in like June, July? Am I mistaken, folks? Is that like is a big fishing tournament and the boats leave town? I thought. No. Marquita Lee says Omega Ball, a five-a-side football competition. Okay. Michael Daniel says, is Hazel Clark still available to be involved? You know what? I'm going to reach out to Hazel Clark and I'm going to ask her, can we have a conversation on this show? So she can answer that for you. Sean Smith says triathlon. I was wondering why no one said this. Whether we like it or not, the triathlon was actually very good for Bermuda, right? That was a good thing. It seemed to be very good for Bermuda, right? We got to think about infrastructure. I read something the other day. Bermuda played Cayman Islands, I think, in Bermuda last week. And I don't know if it was 700 or 800 something people there. And I'm like, man, we just can't get Bermudians out to our events. Now, I don't even remember how many people National Stadium holds, but I've always disliked the concept of the stadium because it's just, maybe they knew people would eventually not come to the stadium. But I want a rounded stadium where seats will go right around, right? So that we could host events much bigger than Bermuda. Dorian says, junior track and field events, bring Hazel Clark back to the BTA. Well, who knows? Now that the leadership seems to have been changed, maybe that will happen. Let's hope that's the case. And folks, don't worry. I will address the resignations from the Bermuda Tourism Authority in a second. I will address those before we bring Maya in, because I'm sure we have an opinion to discuss. What else, audience? What else? What are your other thoughts? What kind of sporting events would you like to see Bermuda host? What kind of sporting events? We've said track. We've said triathlon. We've got the Bermuda Smash Invitational, which was successful. We've got five-a-side football. We've got offshore boat racing. We've got fishing. What else? Like netball, Sherry said, which is, I think, would be brilliant. It'd be excellent. What else can we think of? I said colleges, focus on some colleges and junior colleges where so many Bermudians are involved in different programs overseas, right? Why not? Cameron Fox says, I always thought Southside would be great for F1 car racing like I saw it in the streets of Malaysia. Brilliant. Brilliant. Why not? Why not? Traveling Trotty, I thought of this. Volleyball, she says. And the reason I thought of volleyball is because I want to say some years ago when I was working in Bermuda tourism, I don't know if it was Tony Brennan or someone came with this idea, and I thought it was brilliant. Sean Smith says full marathon, right? Do we do that separate, Sean, from the marathon weekend in January? Dorian says martial arts tournaments. Bingo. Absolutely. Again, it doesn't require as much investment in the infrastructure, right? And that's what I really liked about the track events that Bermuda held, right? And I want to be clear about this because I think we always talk about connections, and networking. And I don't think we understand that networking and connections are very different from having relationships. And I'm grateful that we did have someone like Hazel Clark who had the relationships to bring, whether we like him or not, the fastest man in the world, according to the standards given, Noah Lyles, into Bermuda for 3 years in a row leading up to the Olympics. I don't think we understood how big that was, right? So that didn't require any infrastructure change. It didn't require like America's Cup required infrastructure investment. The track and field didn't. That makes sense? Swimming, secret. Where would we do it? Are you talking about like the stadium, like National Sports Center, or are you talking about like the ocean? Beach volleyball, says Karen Simmons. Okay. Keep it coming, audience. Keep it coming. We're going to bring Maya Palacio in for Daily Hour News Break. But before we do that, and this is your daily discussion brought to you by our friends at Titan Express and Secure Trucking. Let's show them some love. We'll come back and I'll address the resignations at the Bermuda Tourism Authority, and then we'll bring Maya Palacio in for Daily Hour News Break.
The daily discussion is brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Visit TitanEXBDA.com, your leading tour and transport provider specializing in Black History tours throughout the island. And SecureBDA.com for all your property management, waste management, residential, and commercial trucking needs. Professional, punctual, and reliable service is our commitment to you.
All righty. Folks, if you haven't already, whatever platform you're on, be it Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, whatever platform you're on, Twitter X, please make sure you do us a huge favor. Help us beat the algorithm and just give us a like, love, follow, share the link with your friends, your family, your colleagues, everyone you know. All right. So a few months ago, I called for the resignations of the BTA leadership. Since then, there have been a few departures. But I want to make something very clear. I take no joy or pleasure in seeing people lose jobs, especially those who have to fight much harder than others just to be considered. But as Black people, we must do better. Stop allowing our egos to get the best of us. When we get opportunities, it's our duty to be the best we can, to not only prove that we belong, but because we know how much harder it is for us to get such opportunities. We must also do better at supporting the right people among us who can deliver what it is we need. Many of our challenges can be solved with a bit of self-reflection, but we must let our conscience be our guide and not our egos. And I'll leave it at that as it relates to the Bermuda Tourism Authority and the changing of the guard. Let's bring my applause in for the Daily Hour news break. And then we have Sir John, Bermuda's only living national hero, coming up after that.
Good morning. Good morning.
Greetings, MP. Happy Monday to you.
Happy Monday to you too, Jamal.
What sporting events you thinking? What you got?
So I think someone mentioned when I was thinking, oh, volleyball. We have the Bermuda Golfers weekend, so like we bring that in pretty regularly, but also pickleball because it's gotten so large and we're actually working on those tennis courts and trying to like beef them up. I would love to see netball, but we just, like, again, it comes down to facilities, space for a bunch of people to come down and so forth. But yeah, that's the ones I'll focus on. And you were right about saying universities as well. We brought in a couple I know for field hockey before, and they actually walked in the Bermuda Day Parade too, which was interesting.
Yeah, pickleball is picking up, man. And, you know, I'd be telling people, one of my hangout spots is the pickleball joint. They'd be like, what color are you? Seriously?
It is, that sport has taken up and up and up and up. So that would be a really brilliant one to bring.
Yeah, I think pickleball is like ping pong for like a real court. You know, it looks fun. I mean, I haven't gotten my hamstrings in order to actually play, so I'm still a spectator, but I check it out.
Jamal, you can play it.
Okay. All right.
It's really meant for anyone for all ages, like seriously. And depending on your technique and your skill level, you probably don't even have to move that much.
What age is considered elderly, like 60 or 65?
I know some people that play all the way up to 80, so it's a sport that keeps going.
Yeah, I saw like the 62-year-old lady I worked with. She would go every Monday to play. I'm like, it must be easy. No disrespect to her, but
it's a small court. Granted, you can move. It gives you good movement, but it's mostly upper body movement. I feel I played it like once or twice, but depending on who you're playing against, though, as well, that'll get you moving. So if it's 60s versus 60s, or 40s versus 60s, like playing or just playing in your like.
I'm gonna ask Sir John because he turns 90 soon. I'm gonna ask him, has he played pickleball? Yeah. You think he's played pickleball?
I want to say yes. I think either pickleball or maybe a tennis man.
Yeah.
I'll go with that. Or golf.
I think I'm going to tell Sir John we can go into Guinness Books of Records if he plays me in pickleball. He's probably going to do it. Yeah. Anyway, what you got for us today?
All right. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. This is your Daily Hour news break brought to you by the great people at People's Pharmacy. We all know this is happening because Carnival is around the corner. So make sure you stop by People's for hydration, must-haves like pain relief, everything you need to recover like a pro if you're going to hit the road. All right. So starting out your news break this morning, during a police executed warrant in Pembroke, officers recovered a firearm and ammunition on June the 5th. So a 23-year-old male occupant was arrested in connection with the seizure. Now, Detective Chief Inspector Dorica Burns, who is in charge of the Serious Crime Unit, spoke about this significant developing and confirming, quote, this is the second firearm taken off the streets in recent weeks. Now, the investigation remains ongoing.
Yeah, got him off the streets, folks.
Yeah, continuous things that keep happening. And then 3 days later, at approximately 9:15 p.m. on Sunday, June 8th, police and other emergency services were dispatched to report of an assault that occurred in Dockyard area near the ferry terminal. Now, upon arrival, officers located one male victim who has sustained a head injury. He was transported to the hospital for treatment. The severity of his injuries is unknown to us at this time, but the circumstances surrounding the assault remain unclear and investigations are ongoing. So police are again appealing for any members who may have witnessed this disturbance to contact them on 295-0011.
Hopefully that person pulls through and it's not too bad.
I agree, indeed. Now, moving over to some other related news right now, as immigration laws and labor policies continue to evolve across the United States, particularly around skilled workers, processing delays, and tighter border rules, Bermuda is also making changes to how it manages foreign labor. Recently, the Minister of Economy and Labor, Jason Hayward, announced that a new draft of Bermuda's work permit policy is now available for public feedback through till July the 4th. Now, the revised policy is aimed at creating a better balance between protecting job opportunities for Bermudians and meeting the island's need for international talent in key industries. Now, it comes after a 2-year review involving the Immigration Board, policy staff, and industry partners. Now, among the notable changes that some people might see is that the processing time for standard work permits will now be 30-day working instead of 20, a government move saying that reflects more realistic turnaround times. Now, employers will now be expected to prove all foreign hires have a working knowledge of English, not just Portuguese nationals. And for the first time, Bermuda is introducing a new family office permit, aligning with the island's effort to attract ultra-high net worth investors and private office startups as well. So other updates touch on areas like police certificate guidelines and sponsored dependents, layoffs, and second amendments. Yeah, things are changing.
Interesting. When I think of immigration, I notice the challenges that Bermuda has with, Bermudians having issues with non-Bermudians working certain jobs while Bermudians struggle. There was this thing going around on the internet about a person who was offered a job in Bermuda for $250,000. And what shocked me is that Bermudians don't realize how many people amongst them, their neighbors, that make that amount of money. Like, that's not abnormal, but it shocks me every time people are shocked. And this is a non-Bermudian with a family and how we react to that. And it really took us, I try not to watch the news when it's not related to what we're discussing. So Bermuda news I follow. So I don't traditionally watch the news since the last US election. But what I came across this weekend, just on social media, is that there are apparently riots due to the ICE, the immigration thing going on in the United States. Mm-hmm. And it looks like all hell's broken loose out in Los Angeles. But there's a battle in there. And I wonder if Bermuda's the same way. And I don't want to go off on this tangent about what happened Bermuda Day with the Filipinos and Bermudians and what's a Bermudian and all that. But there's this big battle online. And I've been trying to wake Bermudians up to it for a long time. But there's been this ignore, like we just don't get it or care. But there's the same way we can ask what's a Bermudian. The question going around in the world right now is, what is a Black person? Mm-hmm. And Black people online literally telling one another, stay home. These immigration battles have nothing to do with you. This is a Latino issue. This is an Asian issue. This is not a Black issue. So as it relates to Bermuda and immigration, I'm fascinated by how we approach it and what the collective argument is versus the individuality. How do we approach it? What is
You're touching on a topic that's, it's so far range debated, because even recently I was talking to a friend about how 3 years ago I kind of just understood what came from, the Latino community, that a lot of them don't consider themselves Black. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's kind of crazy because you're looking just like me and I consider myself a Black woman. And it's just but the history of, how their people end up where they are, and then how African Americans and then African Caribbeans, and we always find ways to divide mm-hmm. ourselves, and that still to this day startles me, that in a world where we're trying so hard to I don't even know if we've been trying enough or at all to be inclusive, but we find ways to divide ourselves no matter what as human beings. We will always find a way to make someone more superior, lesser than, or whatever, to make ourselves feel better.
I think inclusivity is a pipe dream, because as much as people say we want it, I don't think we really do. Yeah, immigration. I hear the minister, I hear her talk about, protected job categories and all of that. I just don't think we go in depth about any of this. And one day we must take the time to really talk about it in depth, because it's not a Bermuda issue.
Yeah, that's a global issue. It's an interesting one indeed, because we live in a world where we put up so many barriers. These are the rules that we've decided for ourselves as humans, and this is what we're following. All right, I want to close out with just a reminder of our men's football team, because they will be competing and meeting in Cuba against Cuba on Tuesday, June the 10th, to continue their hopes to reach the FIFA World Cup. So that will be around 5 p.m. ADT time, to keep an eye out to how we can watch that and see how well they do, and hopefully reaching the next goal and the next pathway forward on this.
Indeed. All the best to those fellas. How's the weather looking?
Mix of sun and some clouds today, light to moderate winds, which is good. And we got a high of 82 degrees. So we're hitting the 80s now. Summer's going to be here.
Alrighty. Today is meal prep day. I want to ask the audience, does anyone actually meal prep? Like, do you meal prep? And when I say meal prep, do you meal prep? I'm not talking about like once a year during January. Do you like actually consistently meal prep? I'm going to be honest with you, I don't. I have a routine, but I don't meal prep. Do you meal prep, man?
I wouldn't say I meal prep. I mean, I make my breakfast the night before nowadays, like if it's like the chia seeds, whatever. So before and the next day type thing, but I ain't meal prepping for the whole week. Yeah,
that takes time. To those who do, much respect to you. It takes a lot of discipline and we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
We've got Sir John coming up, and it's National Heroes. I mean, I know everybody thinks of the soca and the party, but it's actually bigger than that. So we'll take a break and come back. See you soon, Maya.
See you soon.
All right, my Palacio folks. Do not go anywhere. We have Bermuda's only living national hero, Sir John Swan, coming up immediately following this break. You don't want to miss it. In the meantime, whatever platform you're on, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter X, Instagram, make sure you give us a like, love, follow, share the link with your friends, family, and colleagues. And to everyone on Hot 107.5, a very happy Monday and good morning to you as well.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
Hi there, welcome to Medical House. We're located at number 6 Bakery Lane. I can't wait to show you all of the great stuff that we carry. Come on inside, let's see. Long days, long shifts, you no longer have to endure comfortable underwear. Designed by nurses, we now offer premium undergarments by Swoop that are unique, fun, comfortable, and functional. The only underwear you'll ever want to wear. Who says high quality functional products can't be stylish and comfortable at the same time?
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
96 degrees, real hot, oh yes.
Summer's heating up, but your home, it can chill. BAC is turning down the heat with 20% off Carrier X-Power mini split AC units. They're sleek, whisper quiet, and smart thanks to energy-saving inverter technology. New install, upgrade, doesn't matter. Just don't miss out. For a limited time, get 20% off when you pay with cash, credit, or debit.
96 degrees.
Swing by BAC on Mill Creek Road today.
Discover Drop It, your go-to grocery delivery. Browse and select from a wide range of groceries, from fresh produce to daily essentials. Our friendly drivers deliver fresh groceries to your door fast, saving you time and hassle. With Drop It, you get fresh groceries delivered fast so you can focus on what really matters. Drop It, freshness at your doorstep, delivered to your door with Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
Dreaming of expanding your business? With BDC's Loan Guarantee Program, we support your ambitions. Get up to 75% guarantee on bank or credit union loans up to $300,000. Just your vision and our support. Apply today and unlock new business opportunities. BDC, Bermuda business starts here.
All righty, welcome back to the big show. I'm Jamal Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC group of companies, Medical House, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. Don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. And folks, again, it costs you nothing. Do us a big favor if you're tuned in on the stream, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, X, or Instagram. Cost you nothing. Just take a second to give us a like, love, follow, share the link with your friends, your family, your colleagues, whatever platform you're on. Just help us beat the algorithm. And if you're on Hot 107.5, thank you. We appreciate you. And feel free to take a video of you tuned in, and you can share it with us, tag us in your video if you choose to share it on social media. All right, without further ado, let's give a warm TH welcome. He's like a co-host on the show. He's been on so much, right? But we are grateful that he always finds the time to come on with us. I'll give a warm TDH welcome for Sir John Swan.
Good morning.
Greetings, sir. How are you?
Wonderful. Really good. You know, I went through a period of shingles for about 7 months, but now it's now settling down and I'm back in swing again.
We're happy that you are back in the swing of things, especially knowing how challenging that can be. But I've got to ask you, Sir John, although you were dealing with shingles, have you ever played pickleball?
No, I haven't actually. Every time I look at my tennis court, I keep saying, convert it to pickleball. Then I said, well, you know, how many times I'm going to use it? So I just put my mind to something else.
All right, all right. So Sir John and I will not be playing pickleball, folks. We will not. Well, we haven't spoken to you since right after the last election, but we definitely wanted to have you on because, again, you are Bermuda's only living national hero, the only person who holds this unique distinction of being the only living national hero. And I don't think we've really talked about what does this recognition mean to you personally, and how do you carry that responsibility?
Well, first of all, I was honored to be recognized as a national hero. I think I have devoted myself to trying to improve Bermuda, not only in my professional life, but also my personal life, by doing things that reach out to many people across the country and trying to bring Bermuda the things it needs to survive, to go. That's why I went after the Czech Treaty and why we have had other international changes that have occurred that have improved Bermuda. We were the largest home builders as a private company in Bermuda many years ago. So it's just not one thing. It's really what's in your heart, what your heart tells you to do, and you have the nerve to do it. You know, your heart can tell you to do a lot of things, but you don't have the nerve to do it. So you've got to remove fear and develop the instincts and the feeling that, yes, I can. And that's what I've always tried to do. So being a national hero is trying to set an example, not to lie, be thankful for the award and lie back home and say, well, now I'm a national hero, I can take a break. I don't take breaks.
As I think many Bermudians have now come to find out, Sir John does not take breaks. But I mean, Sir John, just to follow up on what you just said, and audience, if you have any questions or comments for Sir John, please send them through via one of our social media streams. But why do you believe it's so important for a country to recognize and honor its heroes while they're still alive, to witness the impact of their contributions, but also to get their flowers?
Well, I think that national heroes have to be something that the public really, in principle, agree the person is worthy of it. You know, you because you have done things that the public feel comfortable with, and you know, I can't pat myself on the back. I've done things, other people are doing things. The government today is trying to get Bermuda moving. Everybody's trying to help Bermuda. I mean, they only do it in their own way. And I hope we do end up with more living national heroes, because they demonstrate to young people. Young people don't look at it and say, well, I remember John Swan or somebody else 20, 30 years ago. They weren't born. So at least they can say, I can be like that person. He's a normal human being, doing things that people agree with and don't agree with, but he is consistent in what he does and tries to uphold a moral and principle position of we can all do better if we give it a try. So I'm very ordinary. I'm not any special individual. And I think Mr. Dunkley, who recommended me, was OBA at the time, recommended me to be a national hero. And since then, I've tried to do what I've always done, just be John Swan. That's what I can ever be.
When you reflect on your time in public service, many decades of public service, what do you hope, people will know that Sir John was a longest serving premier. People will know that Sir John was a competent and successful businessman. People will know that Sir John was a beloved politician. But what do you hope your legacy is for future generations of Bermudians beyond he's just a national hero, like as maybe a father and a husband?
Well, I think what's important is I had a very ordinary background. I had deficiencies, reading. I had problems. I didn't start reading until I was 12 years old. I'm dyslexic. And so I had to find ways to make life work for me. And I think that helped a lot, because what happened was the fact that when I worked on finding those ways, and you really, in those days, you had to really work on yourself. There were people that helped me. But at the end of the day, you had to ask for help. I was humble enough to ask for help, and people came forward and helped me to really do what I thought I needed to do, and sometimes told me what I needed to do. And so I think it's about relationships that count the most, whether it's a relationship with God, or whether it's a relationship with the ordinary person in the street, or whether it's a relationship with your children. You set certain standards, and then you try to pull those standards, and try to be reflective of what is it that can make you do better for others. And that's always been my case.
How do you feel your legacy is respected among your peers, but also, there was something in the news about Clyde Best regarding being honored at a UK school recently, and people were saying like it's amazing that so many of us grew up not knowing the impact he had. And I think over time, the legacies go quiet. What can we do to ensure that people's legacies, your own and others, there for generations to come, so that they know about our national heroes and the impact they had, and how they can draw inspiration from the likes of yourself?
Well, our education system really, in a sense, casts a shadow on our history, back history. Not black history, but back history. We're going back. And then contemporary history. Our education system was so preoccupied with keeping up with English and their standards that they failed to put hearts into people, help people with their hearts, feel good about Bermuda and what people had achieved, and how we have evolved as a country. We were busy trying to tell people, you got to know math, you got to know English, you got to know Latin, you got to do it. And the end result is we just got away from our history, and it's become part of our culture not to pay attention to it. And I think that we need to sort of stop and make people and give people opportunity to understand Bermuda and how it has evolved and where it is today, and how people struggle, how people were successful. What does a person do to become something other than just simply finishing their education academically and going off to college and getting an education and coming back and getting a job? And they come back and they don't even reflect on, how did I get here? Does it make me be the person that I am? And how can I help others to be the person they want to be? What we have here in Bermuda is a lot of individualism. Now, sure, we have sports, which you were mentioning earlier today, and most sports are a collective process. But, those kids end up going back home, back to the education or back to somewhere, and they don't know where they came from. It reminds me of Christopher Columbus. When he left Europe, he didn't know where he was going. When he got to where he was, he really didn't know where he was. When he got back, he didn't know where he had been. He did it off somebody else's money. What we have to do is try to figure out, why am I doing this? Where am I going? What will I find, and how can I improve it? And what background of my country and people in my country help me to be the person I am? And how can I pay back, not necessarily that person, but the rest of society? Because we are not concentrated on our people as much as we think or pretend we do. We concentrate on materialism, worries about how we can survive. I think if we had a historical, whatever you want to say about Jamaicans. Jamaicans love Jamaica, they love the culture, they love this, they love that. I'm not sure that Bermudians have yet to understand their history and get it into their system, get it into their souls, so that they can feel like, gee, I am what I am because somebody made a sacrifice, somebody did something to do it. And that person wasn't just a teacher in school, but was a teacher in my community. And so we lost the community spirit because we don't have attachments to things, because we don't understand them. They're not a part of our lexicon at all.
But do you, I mean, we might as well talk about it because you're the man that led us in this space in 1994 or 5, if I'm not mistaken. But that's a great point you make about Jamaicans, because I'm going to use them as an example. You can meet a Jamaican in the North Pole and you will know they carry that pride with them. Like they carry a pride that it's almost envious. Bermudians don't seem to have that same pride. And does it come down to Jamaicans like having that sense of independence? Where does that come from? And how do we get Bermudians to that place of pride that you see in them?
Well, I think, we have been a reasonably successful country. And what we've told everybody is the way to be successful is you've got to have an academic education. And the better academic education you have, the more people get paid. Or you've got to have a skill, and the better your skill is, you get paid. Some people need to understand is the fact that it's not just education, it's not just a job. It is a national pride and a national heritage mentality that really drives a country in the final analysis. We've got to a stage now where it's so materialistic that we can't even say anything other than I need more money, I need a house, I need to travel, I need a vacation. And that has nothing to do with nationalism at all. It is my wants that I have, that I see other people enjoying it. And what we've done is we have compromised ourselves in the process. And what happens is the fact that people come into our shores, and the numbers are pretty big now, they don't participate really in our affairs. Because we sort of put a barrier up and say, you are a guest in our country, and we are Bermudians, and we want to preserve certain things for ourselves. We've got to take down barriers and be inclusive with people, but also encourage them to get involved with our activities. I mean, I go to events, black events, white events, and that's what they are. You find one or two blacks in a white event and one or two whites at a black event. Even though we have 122 different nationalities in our country, from a point of view of relationships and marriages, we're probably per capita the highest in the world. But we have not adopted a culture that sort of supplements that to make it really develop and evolve in something that we have a pride in. That when I mentioned Jamaicans, every Jamaican I know of, he got no money, got nothing. I'm proud to be a Jamaican. He tells you why he's proud to be Jamaican. He talks about Mali and Manley and leaders, leaders that really sort of help to evolve them and this education. You go to school in London, you can't help but feel that you have to adopt to that culture. In Bermuda, you go to school here, whether it's whatever school you go to, and there's no cultural adaptation. There's event, there's pickleball, there's football, there's volleyball, and so forth. But there's no cultural pride. We say we're Bermudians, we're proud to be Bermudian, but do we understand what it means to be proud to be Bermudian? I don't think so. And I think that we adopt, and all of us start to sort of really make history. I mean, I look at the newspaper, for example. Every day they run an article on somebody who died that's overseas that no Bermudian knows from Adam. I mean, why do they take a whole half a page and put somebody's picture up there and say this guy was so-and-so in the paper? Why can't we talk about the Bermudian in a contribution at same space? Because obviously that person, that's not being paid for by somebody. If it is, they could pay for that. So that we start so when people come to Bermuda and they start to read the paper, they start to understand what Bermuda really is. Nobody knows the old families of Bermuda, black or white. There's months, white, white. The average young person who has Henry Tucker was or E.T. Richards was, who's that?
Yeah.
Now, whatever you say about America, you know who Abraham Lincoln was.
True.
Madison was, what George Washington was. And you go, England, at least they know Maggie Thatcher.
Yeah.
But, they had their slippage because they've neglected their heritage. They're very proud because they got a long history. But at the same time, we are so busy now with Twitter and Facebook and everything else, and everything is instant, that, we just don't get inculcated with real reality of how we evolved and what we represent. And if I, my way, I think we need really as a culture of Bermuda. And instead of calling it tourism, I would call it culture. I would call it the people who work to enhance our culture, enhance Bermuda in all many ways. I mean, 80%, 80% of our GDP now comes from international business. You can't expect them, unless you help them to understand. You can't expect them to understand our culture. And that's why I think, I've stepped away from politics altogether. Because I think before I pass on, and believe me, when you get to be 90, the witching hour is not that far away, and that's fine. I have no problems with that at all. But to try to sort of figure a way how to take and really make Bermuda culture a major theme of Bermuda, which is not, one time we had artists and so forth, Birdsey and Charles Lloyd Tucker and many other artists, work being displayed and so forth. Now, unless you go to a museum and the tourists go there, but I think a lot of Bermudians go there, or then international people go there, but the young people. I think Masterworks is trying to convert to where young people will find a much more environment to participate. But we need to really release this energy of culture. And I think when sports people go abroad, when they say we're proud of Bermuda, why are you proud to be a Bermudian? Oh, I'm proud because I come from Bermuda. I'm proud of Bermuda's success. I'm proud because Bermuda has all this international business. I'm proud because we're better than you are. That's not pride. You know, that's just an admonition of what you have evolved into, but it doesn't make your heart beat. It makes your mind beat, makes your mind function. But you don't feel it deep down inside. You can't feel down inside because you don't even know whether you can get your foot in the door of these companies now. So you end up in a position where you really have a split personality. I say something, but I don't know why I'm saying it or what it means. The day you arrive at what you say is what you mean and you understand what it means, it will have a great impact on everybody and an improvement. And that's not what we are. Yes.
Sir John, I feel like, and I know you're so busy, so you probably don't get to watch all the time, but I think this morning you've literally answered so many questions. And audience, those of you who tune in regularly will know we've spoken about Bermuda culture recently. We've spoken about how we treat non-Bermudians recently. We spoke everything that Sir John just touched on. We've had a question of that within the last month. And I think it's important that we have these conversations because, Sir John, this is not a trick question, but how many successful countries or nations or jurisdictions have done so without immigration?
How many successful what?
How many countries, jurisdictions, like just cities, towns, whatever, how many have actually been successful without a good immigration policy? Like you need, I mean, pretty much immigration is what really is the foundation.
You need, as the world evolves, you need people with competence to do the job. And but you need to prepare your own people to be competent to do jobs.
Correct.
You need to make people feel as though I'm Bermudian. I mean, one time you say I'm Bermudian, I'm entitled to at least something. Nowadays, if you say I'm Bermudian, I'm entitled to something which jumps all over you. Oh, you believe in entitlement. Because we haven't evolved people with a heart what entitlement really means. It shouldn't mean that I want you to give me something. It should mean I have something to offer. Will you please listen to me or help me to be what I can be? That then is what entitlement should be, and not this idea that somebody owes me something or somebody has to fix. Because we've gone through this thing, reparation and everything else, and guess what? It's ended up at zero for the last 200 years, 300 years.
So how can we, because I just want to get back to the pride thing, because I think that's a topic that I don't think we figured out collectively how to develop and create Bermuda pride. But I think you kind of gave a blueprint. Like, it has to be education. It has to be in a space where people are willing to learn. I feel like we haven't had a national, I could be wrong, but I believe you were the last person recognized as a national hero. And I think then they said it would be every 10 years. I feel like that's going to fade away soon. I think it's going to fade away who our national heroes are. Like, every year on this show, we ask the audience name all 8 people. I can do it because I'm always asking the question, but I can guarantee you most people can only name probably 3 or 5. How do we keep this alive? How do we, when these conversations right now, I enjoy, I appreciate, because your words, not mine, is you're 90, you're enjoying your time, right? But we've got to do something collectively, Sir John, about what do we do? Because we can't force pride on people. We can't force culture on people. I agree with what you said. Tourism should be about culture. Like, all the things that the BTA kind of does, that should fall under the Department of Culture. I mean, I've said that for years. So you're given a sermon this morning that I really hope that people, whatever the politics are, put aside and really listen to what you're saying.
Well, I think that we're so caught up in politics that we lose sight of other things. That we're so caught up in trying to keep up with the Joneses. We're so caught up in trying to sort of survive that we sort of are into the immediate. But our past is so important, and our roots that will feed us from the soil and the earth that was created by our ancestors are important because they're the ones that got us to where we are. And we tend to say, no. Let those buildings drop pieces that were owned by so-and-so, or let, the houses go down. I mean, we've lost sight of our heritage. I mean, we can talk about, we're going to build it, but I drive around this country, there's so many buildings that represent a part of our heritage, part of yesterday. I'm not saying that we have to sort of go back to yesterday. We have to move on to the future, but we can't forget. I mean, it's like saying, I'm going to forget who my mother was and my father was and what they did for me and how I emerged as an individual. And so therefore you take upon yourself to be yourself. Your roots start from yourself. Well, no tree or nothing grows just by itself. It has to have roots, and it has to have how those roots took things from the ground and produced those branches of those trees. I mean, we should have, pride of, who were the families that are in Bermuda? Nobody knows anymore. How did Bermuda get started? Who was really the original settlers of Bermuda? How did we should have a conversation that we don't have to go to the movies, because Bermuda's life, Bermuda has a colorful history, a lot of history. Some you don't, I wouldn't agree with, and some have been very brutal. But let's talk about that brutalness, because at the end of the day, it makes people realize the fact that I'm in a country that has something, and I'm asked to help to preserve that something in order to produce something from that country. And for me to get something, I've got to give something. But now we've got to a stage now, I'll throw you a scholarship here and there. I'll do some couple of charitable things, and I'll make my pronouncement. But when you had Bermudian companies, you think about all the public companies now, the law firms, the accounting firms, the power company and communication company. All these companies were owned by Bermudians, and they participate in issues. Nowadays, you don't hear anything about them anymore. You don't hear about, Bermuda Industrial Union, I grew up with my heritage being started with Dr. Gordon. At my age, I remember him being around. Now, I wasn't involved directly, but I knew he was a firebrand. I also knew the fact that in order for things to happen, you got to take some hard positions sometimes. You can't be soft and be mellowed and want to eat steak and have caviar when somebody else is having to eat what they find unpalatable. So I think that, again, we don't hear much about the unions anymore. Everything must be okay. We don't hear about what's going on at the hospital. It must be okay. When people go look for service, they know it's not okay. Now, that's a criticism. We're talking about heritage now. We're not talking about contemporary political processing. A couple of people, Ms. Simmons and Ms. Smith, they tend to write articles about our heritage, and they get less coverage than those articles that appear in the paper about this person who died, was in England or in Germany or America. And people, maybe 1%, maybe 1% of the population read it because they have no interest at all. So we got to restack our processing and really and I think a lot of the problems we have will dissipate. I think that young men growing up with no roots, why? Because we didn't leave enough substance in his roots for him to grow. And so he stopped growing and just tried to survive. And whether it's guns or alcohol or marijuana or whether it's robberies, I've talked to a few of these people. And, they don't see hope. And you can be poor. As I said, make it. You can be poor as anything. But But if you feel like a sense of pride, and I've talked to people, I don't have much, but they have a sense of pride about themselves and about what they represent and so forth. And unfortunately, what we're doing is we're adopting other people's pride and thinking us. That's the tragedy of the whole thing. We got to a stage where, we were once a proud people. We were once proud to have a Bermuda that was ours. We were once proud to have the things that we did and what they represented. And somehow the other got buried.
Yeah, I think we do a great job of celebrating other people's independence, their holidays, their culture, their heritage. And it's almost, and we love to say, quote, well, Bermuda has no culture. We have no culture. Like, I think that's the silliest thing. It tells me that, if anything, we're uneducated as to what culture is and what makes up culture.
And it doesn't horse you because there's something of the past. You want to put into your heart, into your head. So when you act, you feel like I'm doing something worthy. Doing things, I remember when I first became premier. What was the first thing I did? Having lived above Pembroke Marsh and felt the smoke and had to sleep with the smell of the smoke and all the stinking smell that came from Pembroke Marsh. When I became premier, I said, the first thing I'm going to do is, and I did it, stop those fires from Pembroke, stop burning garbage around the Pembroke Marsh. And so, in other words, that was inculcated in me as a young person. So when I became an adult and got in a position to do something about it, I did something about it. That's what we want our people to do. Things that they saw that they could not do as a young person, or felt as though that somehow or the other they weren't paying attention. When they got older, they do something. We just got the reverse. We feel as though that we don't have to first think about our past. I mean, I remember talking to young people who've been successful getting into the national business, their jobs, because that's and real hiring that's really taking place in Bermuda. It's really international, and they've got now people that are now retiring from those jobs. I talked to them and I said, "Why don't you get yourself involved in the community?" Man, I worked hard. I got myself a job. I made some money. Now I want to relax and enjoy myself. I don't want to get involved in all this nonsense. It tells you that about the country. What it says is the fact that I really don't care about people. So we've got a long way to go. When people have been blessed to get something, they have to pass those blessings on to other people, help them to get something, instead of just simply saying, I have it now, I've got a house abroad, I've got a boat somewhere, I can take my trips and go around the world and feel good. I don't know how you feel good about that. I don't. I don't feel good when I'm back in Bermuda, making a noise, trying to improve things, and make Bermuda a better place for people. Some people don't agree with me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I make mistakes and say the wrong things.
There are those people, Sir John, that you mentioned, and I've come across quite a few of them. But then there are people who, want to be young leaders and want to be involved in the community, but they get discouraged very early. As someone in yourself who helped shape modern Bermuda, you helped shape Bermuda as it is today. What advice would you give to today's young leaders and the visionaries who want to make a lasting difference?
Well, I think that first of all, there's need for conversation. We become compartmentalized and isolated. I think the conversation has to be about what contribution can we make to Bermuda. Get your pride back. Get your feelings back about Bermuda, as opposed to get all your feelings wrapped up in yourself, or you don't want to talk about it because it disturbs you. Well, at the end of the day, if you take medicine, most medicines don't taste very good, but they help to cure you. What we need is a dose of medicine, of making sure that when we take it, it's going to enhance our sense of responsibility to others. As you don't realize, your parents and your foreparents made a sacrifice to produce the things that you need. My mother and father worked very hard to educate me. I was away in school for 8 years, struggling. Why I struggled? Because I knew my parents were struggling. Why? I didn't come back home and give up with my dyslexia, my reading disabilities. Because I knew my parents were doing the best they can to keep me out there and pay my way and encourage me. At the end of the day, I asked for help. My mother said, find the help you need, son, if you want to get ahead. And I started to look for the help I needed. The conversation I had with people, whether it was my English professor or my philosophy professors. And all of a sudden I realized the fact that, hey, these people are going to help me. And this was in West Virginia, redneck country. But it didn't matter. The fact that is they wanted to help. And the end result is I got through college. I've been off to higher levels of institutions of education. And what I found out was that if you bury yourself in your own remorse and your own sense of importance, you lose the sense of what really is important, how you help your fellow man.
What I guess, let's go to the audience real quickly because I have one last question for you. But Charles H. Jeffs II, and audience, apologies, we haven't been able to get through as many, but Charles H. Jeffs II, he says, I agree with Sir John regarding Bermudians and our pride in our country. Would independence bring about pride, or would pride bring about independence?
Well, you know, we know how the Bermuda people feel. What they have been conditioned now by is if we get independence, we're going to lose something. And maybe we lose something. But we're not ready for it yet because we don't have the pride in ourselves to feel as though whatever we do, we do it for the right reason. We do it because it's going to help and improve everybody. Nowadays, it is expediency, expedient pride, expediency that, oh, if I do this, what's the consequences? If I do that, what's the consequences? The end result is you end up doing nothing. And that's where we are now. We're in a state of nothing. Now, I'm not going to talk about whether we go independent. That's going to be up to the Bermuda people. They feel that Bermuda should be independent. It shouldn't be set by and other types of international relationships that we have. We should be talking about the importance of Bermuda standing on its own, whether it's independent or not independent, and having a sense that when anybody comes to Bermuda, whether it's a tourist or whether it's an international visa or work permit holder, that they understand Bermuda, and that Bermuda is a place that has got our pride. What we've done is we've let the pride of foreigners take over. I mean, we talked about the America's Cup, we talked about the triathlons and so forth. I remember as a young person, we used to have dinghy races and yacht races, and they were all done by Bermudians. We used to have, events that took place, and we went down to Cunning Games and had fun down to Cunning Games. You go to Cunning Games now, and the Bermudians don't come out in the numbers anymore because they've now become, I've got a function to go to tonight, a dinner to go to tonight, I've got this to do and that to do. And the end result is it's called slippage. It happens in everything, slippage. We've been worn and torn down so much not by our own, because you want to be like somebody else instead of being like yourself. Small island people. When people come here, they should feel as though they want to be involved with what we do. Sure, we put on a good example. We put on the Parade 24th of May event. And we have, when I first started in 1961, with my first involvement with helping to build a float, we had to get flowers from people's gardens and everything else. The whites were involved with that. And they were involved and they built floats and they were part of it and so forth. And the blacks were involved to probably a less extent. slowly, as the flour supply diminished and they diminished in the process, we switched to our events, which I'm very proud of, the gumbaids, the majorettes, and a few floats. And the whites don't come out now to do this. I don't see them participating to go to the beach. Why? Because they go with their foreign friends. We've actually have a form of what's called social segregation.
Yep.
And that social segregation is a result of we should make an effort that foreigners, now that we're dependent on them so much, and they should be making their contribution. But instead, I mean, if you go to the bank and try to borrow money today, they can get loans quicker than we can because they earn foreign dollars. We can get the foreign dollars. We have been marginalized to a certain extent, almost going backwards in the process of thinking that we're going forward. Because all this materialism is not going to help you really feel that I mean, look at Bermuda Tourism Authority. I mean, what's happened there? Is it because some people feel as though that they need to do something that is really non-Bermudian to help Bermuda to be Bermuda? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I wish somebody come and explain to me why things are wrong and how we can fix it. I mean, I'm one who likes to fix things, and I want to participate in fixing things. I think the government is trying very hard after the last election to try to fix Bermuda. And people say, well, what do you think about the government? I said, well, I said at the very beginning, at the end of the day, that we must all throw a hat in the ring with them and try to make Bermuda better. They're going to be there for the next 4 years, and we should try to make sure that Bermuda has an opportunity. And people really, in a sense, suck their teeth and say, I don't like Mr. Byrd, I don't like POP, I don't like this. At the end of the day, why don't you? It is because the public has made the decision that that's who should run the country. And it's our country. It doesn't change from being our country. And we should try to support Bermuda work. Because I can tell you now, this world is changing so fast. Not just because of AI and Mr. Trump. It is a whole accumulation of global culture, that the economic culture, the social culture, the things that really function the way they function are changing, and they will change, and we will be affected by it. If they saw us as being collective, I convinced Maggie Thatcher and Ronald Reagan Bermuda was on the march and that it could do what it has to do to be what it can be. And they supported me. It would not have happened that it brought about a new modern Bermuda today. Had not they understood, had somebody explained to them what Bermuda was all about. And people ask me, when I talk to congressmen, what is Bermuda like? I understand they've got segregation. I remember, they don't like Jews. That's one of the questions again. I said, we have never discriminated against Jews. We've had issues, but those issues have been issues of governance, not issues of anti-Semitism. And when I finally got through explaining to them, I remember it was a big issue with Bermuda and its tourism back in the 80s, and a couple felt offended. I got a call from one of my YPO friends who was head of the Bermuda American Publishing Company. And he said, John, what this thing about anti-Semitism, is it anti-Semitism in Bermuda? I said, you must be joking. I said, because we have policies that we must adhere to, and this couple wanted to not adhere to the policies, and fought very hard, and then finally moved out of Bermuda, left it, and that reached the United States. He said to me, is there anti-Semitism? I said, no. He said, well, you won't hear anything else about this on the media. I was shocked when it died. So we do need relationships. We do need to be proud of our country. We need to be able to say that, our country, what our country represents. The average Bermuda knows what Bermuda represents. Don't know what. In fact, a lot of children don't even know what their parents expect though.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of slippage, and I think that we need to have the big people talk about. We need to have a conversation about this and that. We need to have a conversation about ourselves. That's what we need to do. And have an honest conversation about ourselves, and don't be offended because somebody talks about, rich or poor, black or white, national or local. Don't make it a taboo. The United States made it a taboo, and look what this message said today. And you follow down that same track. Guess what? They can survive. That's a big country. A lot of people, a lot of natural resources. We have the natural resource. We have the salt water. Everyone wants. You can't talk about the fishing industry. There's a limited amount of fish because you don't have around Bermuda. Agriculture. I don't think we have 500 acres now of agricultural land. At one time, we were a big agricultural country. So what do we got? That's ours. Tourism is a foreign product. Foreign ships bring people to Bermuda. Foreign people come on those ships. Foreign people make arrangements for them and get the residue. But we should have a residue. We should have a relationship that makes that residue. Yeah. And make Bermuda feel good about it.
Sir, just got to cut you. I just want to, we are no longer on radio. So those who were on radio, hopefully you've checked over and come on to the stream. But one final question for you as we run out of time, sir, is as we celebrate National Heroes Day, what message would you like to share with the people of Bermuda about honoring our past, embracing our present, and preparing for the future?
Well, I think that, honoring heroes is a laudable thing to do. We should really honor heroes all year round because our parents, our teachers, our hardworking people are our heroes. We picked out heroes individually, but I can tell you there are a lot of heroes out there that have done a lot of things for Bermuda, and they, because they've done it their own way, they have not been recognized. And so I don't see national heroes as being something that, is going to do what we need to do unless we put pride in our country by thinking that national heroes happens to be a component of our pride, not our pride, but a component of our pride. But the real pride has to come from ourselves and what our country means to us, what our people mean to us, both local and foreign, both black and white. So we start really, in a sense, getting our people feel as though, I don't have to go downtown, I do what I have to do. I don't have to mix with anybody, I just go back home to my house. So have the conversation with these people. So that you have a mixture, nobody's gonna take it. And if they give you a rough, I've had it. If they give you a sort of a push off, that's fine. Just go to the next one. As Jesus Christ said to his disciples, if you go to somebody's house and you find that you're not welcome, shake your dust off your shoes and move on. I'll never forget that. I remember that when I was a little boy in Sunday school, and it stayed with me. Because as I've traveled through my journey of life itself, there have not been people always pleasant. But what I've learned to do is shake the dust off, shake off what they said or what they thought they said or what I thought they said, and move on to somebody else. Eventually you'll find that somebody else is willing to help you to open those doors of opportunity. That's where they open up for me, and that's where they open up for Bermuda. And, that's where I think it's very important. It's all about, at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, it's about human relationships. They can be good, they can be bad. Look at Trump and Elon Musk. They were good for a while, now they're not so good, you know. But whether they're big or small, whether they're about animals, dogs, or cats, that seem to have emerged, and how you feel about them, how they feel about you. It's all about relationships. And I can tell you, we tend to sort of become very isolated about our relationships. And the result is the world itself, not just Bermuda, the world itself is on a course that nobody cares about somebody else. They only care about themselves. And that's very bad because it is a destructive process that happened. On occasion, it happened that led to the Second World War, that happened to that First World War. And we're paddling upstream right now, and we're hoping that somehow or the other somebody will help to give us some guidance, because we're heading into a very dangerous period. And Bermuda has to ensure, and I've had talks with the Americans and with the Canadians, and I've said, look, there's a little island here in Bermuda. Bermuda has always served you well, and NATO pay attention. That, you know, you don't want to have your adversaries sitting right at your back door, up here, and it will change the axis, and you'll make a lot of noise, and you'll get angry. I said, do something about it early. Set some parameters by which we ourselves can be guided by our conduct and also the conduct of others. So that's been my recent sort of working process. It's not, and I don't represent government. I'm out of the political arena, but that doesn't mean, in fact, that I can't speak with people who have an interest in Bermuda, but don't understand it. And I forgot I've lived long enough. I was born 1935. The war started in 1940. By the war ended, I was 10 years old. So I understand a lot of things that happened in the past, and through that cycle of events. And it was the opening of the bases in roughly 42. And during the end of my career in politics, it was the closing of the bases. So I lived through that whole process itself, and that's important. And I now see places that are being used for tourism by the neglect. And we can encourage the world, and particularly foreigners that are in our sphere, to be more participatory with Bermuda. I can have a good growth. I know the government's trying now to get that process going. I think it's important that we all help in that process. And whether you agree or disagree with the government, there's two Bermudas. There's Bermuda locally, whether you talk about roads or missions and so forth, but then there's Bermuda internationally. We tend to forget that Bermuda internationally is what really feeds us in the end of the day.
Sir John, thank you so much for always making time for us. Definitely appreciate the conversation, the depth of the information that you always share, and for engaging us live. Please don't be a stranger. Your birthday is coming up. Was it July 3rd?
July 3rd, one day before American independence.
Yeah.
I beat the Americans to it by one day.
Yep. And so you'll be turning 90 this year?
Yes, sir, 90.
Audience, can everyone in the audience, even if you're on radio, in your car by yourself, sing happy birthday, happy 90th to Sir John. Sir, if we don't see you before then, we all wish you a very happy and healthy birthday. And hopefully it's a birthday to remember, and you get to celebrate it in the way that you choose to. But thank you for always being open to having conversations with us and engaging us, and we'll definitely be in touch with you. Have a wonderful day.
My pleasure, believe me. Hello, Bermuda, and let's get together and make sure that our heritage of ourselves and our feeling about ourselves and our feeling about others becomes part of our natural process. Thank you.
Indeed. Sir John Swan, folks. All right. We've got Karen Simmons says, happy before 90th birth anniversary, Sir John Swan. We've got Suzanne Ingham says, happy 90th birthday, Sir John. I just want to give a shout out to Will, the real deal over there at Hot 1075. Make sure that we had Sir John on the entire time. Mark Arthur C. Phillips says, happy birthday, Sir John. 90 years, folks. 90. But this is not a normal 90 years. This is 90 years of community empowerment and engagement. And it's an impressive, because there are people who have said, man, Sir John's still involved. I'd be relaxing. I'd be on this. Man, this is just who he is. So we're going to take our final break. Thank you so much to everyone who's tuned in on Hot 1075 and enjoyed the stream live. I'm going to go through some of the comments when we take this break. After this break, I'll go through some of the comments that came through while Sir John was on, and then we'll wrap it up. And we've got a daily play. It's a Bermuda trivia question about national heroes. All right? You don't want to miss it. See you in a few.
Forget the usual. Ditch the ordinary. Go off-grid, where adventure meets barefoot luxury. Welcome to Off-Grid RV Bermuda, the island's first recreational vehicle retreat where nature meets luxury in a fully solar-powered Airstream RV. Enjoy eco-conscious linens, cozy robes, a stove, and full bath in a mobile home. You'll find peace in every detail of your stay. Now accepting bookings for overnight stays and half-day escapes. We deliver and set up your Airstream at one of our 10 hand-picked island gems, or right to your private residence. Whether it's a honeymoon, golf getaway, birthday, or solo recharge, you'll get quality service every time. Book now at offgridrvbermuda.com and discover the sleep, serenity, and scenery you've been craving.
Hey, you all right, boy? I don't know, man. I finished running 20 minutes ago, and I feel like I'm still panting.
Look like you need to recover. Try this here. New drink. Yeah, you're like you want to go to the hospital in 2 seconds ago. This will make you fast like Flora.
Tastes good.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy.
Hey, we again.
I'm recovered, boy.
Being from this little island, like yourself, we knew you needed access to reliable shipping. We set up mailboxes so you can skip all the long waits or held up in customs excuses.
With mailboxes, that won't happen. Get your packages in under 48 hours using our dashboard.
Plus, if you're a planner or headerer, our weekly consolidation service might be for you. We hold your packages in Delaware and ship them together to save you big time on shipping fees.
And with our warehouse being in Delaware, that means 0% sales tax. Pretty cool, right guys?
Looking for the best care for your pets? Nova's Ark Feed and Supply has everything you need, from top quality food to toys and supplies. We've got it all. Join our frequent buyer program and earn rewards every time you shop. Plus, we've been awarded the Clever Customer Initiative program for helping you save more. And don't forget, we open an hour early on Saturdays so you can get a head start on your pet care. Visit us today or shop online for easy pickup or delivery. Your pets will thank you.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Big Show. Thanks again to Sir John Swan for coming on and engaging once again with all of us. Thanks again. Big up to everyone at Hot 1075, Will the Real Deal, and everyone at Inter-Island Communications allowing us to expose these conversations to as many people as possible. If you haven't already, if you're on stream, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, X, Instagram, please do us a favor. Make sure you give us a like, love, follow, share the link with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Go through a few comments before we get to the break, but we want to thank the BAC group of companies, Medical House, and Lindo's and People's Pharmacy for ensuring we can do this with you on a daily basis. Alrighty, so we had quite a few comments that came through, and I want to go through some of them. But we had Michelle White said, our people having a sense of purpose and a sense of being valued or a part of the country can lead to having country pride. We can't bring down others who are not like us and expect to feel whole. Indeed. Michael Daniels says, I had the opportunity to observe in a group discussion and I was impressed with the fluidity of your mind. I feel that you will never be stuck in an era or ideology. That was to Sir John. Michelle White also says, Bermuda Pride is inclusivity, but we must believe this and act on this in order to act as one. Kathy Rogers said, definitely time to recognize our own people/history. Long overdue. Good point about the daily paper. Why can't it be a Bermudian mention with their achievements and accomplishments? Rosalind Famous said, building national pride has to be an intentional national activity that is inserted in every aspect of our daily lives, i.e. programs that promote local dishes, local music, local literature, local history, etc. Rosalind Famous also said, in response to Charles's comment earlier about independence then pride or pride then independence, she said, in response to Charles H. Jefferson II, Puerto Rico is not independent, but it has a huge sense of national pride. That this is because of very intentional national programs and their cultural context. Keep it coming, audience. And of course, another happy birthday shout out from Lorna Minus says, happy 98th birthday, Sir John. And Papa Cheesy says, happy new Earth Strong, wishing you many more in the future, Sir John. But it is time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right, audience, are you ready? All right, here's the question. Which of Bermuda's national heroes, recognized national heroes, was a consultant to the United Nations and was the first recipient of the UN Human Rights Commission's Human Rights Award? All righty. Mark Arthur C. Phillips says he has an African name, but I can't remember it. Joel Eve went with the easy, Dr. Roosevelt Brown, and we've got Rosalind Famous and Mr. Brown, and we've got spelled a bit different, but he meant Palu, says Sheldon Fox, and Dame Lewis Brown Evans says Karen Simmons. So I'm gonna do it for you. It was Dr. Palu Kamara Kafego. All right, I know we weren't taught how to pronounce African names, but it's our duty to do our best. Dr. Palu Kamara Kafego, who went by Roosevelt Brown was his original name, but it was Dr. Palu Kamara Kafego. All right. This is part of our culture and history. These are the things that we need to remember. All right. All right. Let's wrap it up. Audience, look, as far as the earlier conversation about what events Bermuda should focus on and the like, it's interesting because Sir John said something interesting. I mean, we used to do dinghy races and so on. We have Bermuda Heroes Weekend coming up, which was once known as the Queen's birthday. With this weekend coming up, one of the most popular things I did as a child, and you know, I'm not a boat person, but I used to go on boats because the dinghy race from Dockyard to St. Georgia and vice the other way around, right? That was something that was huge. You ask most young Bermudians today, they don't even know what that is. I think we have to build events around what we already have. And that's why I mentioned infrastructure earlier. We have to build things around what we already have. As far as the conversation with Sir John Swan, I greatly appreciate him giving us his time. So many of our leaders of the past don't make time for us. They just want to go live their lives. They don't want to have to deal with the politics and things that come with it. I take the conversations that we have with Sir John, I don't take them for granted. None of us should. This is something we should cherish, whether we're in agreement with everything he says or not. we have the opportunity to engage. And for that, I am grateful and thankful. And I really do wish Sir John, like many of you, a happy 90th birthday when it comes. All right, so I have a quote that daily inspiration today is going to come from a tweet from a fellow Bermudian. And this Bermudian, he's an entertainer, he's an athlete, a boxer, but he said something this weekend or last week, and it stuck with me, and I hope it can stick with you as well. It says, quote, "Folks with low self-esteem are being idolized, men and women both. It's terrible. They have no self-worth, so how could there be any integrity? Like Malcolm said, stand for nothing, fall for anything. No guts, no glory is a real thing," end quote. And that's from Robert Sumner, Bermudian entertainer and athlete. I appreciate that. Folks, before we head out, if you haven't already, whatever platform you're on, please help us beat the algorithm. Give us a like, love, follow, share the link with your friends, family, and colleagues. If we didn't get to your comments, hey, don't take it personal. There are many that come through on all platforms that we just don't get to sometimes. Keep in mind, the conversation is not between you and the guests or me and you. It's for everyone to have an opportunity to engage. That said, we will have another former premier joining us tomorrow. The premier who was premier when they created National Heroes. Dr. Ewart Brown, former Premier of Bermuda, will be joining us tomorrow. In the meantime, do not forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. I'm Jamal Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are out. Peace.